Very welcome, everyone. I'll come in closer because I feel a little somewhere at the end of the hall. To the second run of the summer school, The Politics of Disablement, here in Utrecht at the University of Humanistic Studies, how it is called in English. We are three conveners and we will very shortly introduce ourselves. We don't do introductions of everyone at the start. We hope some of you already know each other now from the first quarter or from previous or other times. And we hope that we have time during the 3 days that that we all get to know each other more closely. Specifically, of course, on content. So I will hand over now first to Andries and then to Sander, and then I will introduce myself and say a little bit more about the 3 days and the program. Okay.
Super happy, first of all, to see so many faces and also new faces. So I'm Andries Hiskes. I'm a PhD candidate at Leiden University, where I'm actually finishing my dissertation now. I'm in sort of the last week, hopefully. And my own research interests are really about affective responses to disability. So things like admiration or disgust or fear or all of these different emotional states that people can have or feel that are aroused by disability, that's really sort of my interest. And I'm also working on a dissertation on that particular topic. And yeah, I'm very happy to have so many people here. And this is also our second run of this summer school, where we hope to see a lot of interaction and a lot of new ideas, fresh ideas about this great new field.
Most of you I've welcomed at the beginning or at the entrance, or we have emailed at some point in the past. So very welcome. Also on my behalf. Yeah, I am a professor of disability studies here based at this university since January 21, so in the midst of the pandemic. That was speaking about disabilities. That was a disability in itself, but also, of course, a challenge. And one of the great things is that from the very start, we had already 7 PhD students, and now we have 10, and we sometimes have to say no. We hesitate to do so because it is so important that many people want to liaise with this field and want to do their, I think Andries knows that best now because you handed in today or this week your dissertation. That is really some important part of your life, isn't it? It's not just a book. It is something that you dedicate, quite a period of your life to. So I'm very happy that we were able to have a first run last year. It was a kind of a pilot, I said, at this university, because they were kind of, can we host such a group of different and diverse people? So you can already notice from my language that I was not so happy with these questions. But anyway, this tells us a little bit that disability and politics are still very much related. Also, if it comes to buildings like this, and this is an old building, it is in a very nice neighborhood of Utrecht, but it has its disadvantages. So I hope we can overcome them these days. We have done a lot about it. We have a venue at the ground floor. Toilets are next, what is it, at the other side of the corridor. But if you have any questions, please ask us. Noor is one of our conveners. Jane is here and knows the building quite well. Are some of our own PhD students here at a row and and opposite. So they all can tell you where to go. We have places where you can have a little rest if necessary, etc., etc. So don't hesitate to ask for any accommodations that we can support you with. And now to content. Maybe the first slide, Jane. Yeah, so we decided to do a second run on the same topic because we felt we are not ready. And some of you are, I think, quite familiar with this book or with the newer one, The New Politics of Disablement. It is already from a book from 1990. You can say, the first wave of disability studies in globally. From the 1980s onwards, there were disability studies programs started in the UK and in the US. Anyway, in that book, Mike Oliver's book, and then I need the second slide, Jane. Can I do it myself? Or?
No.
Okay. In this book and the discussions around the book, so why we choose this topic is because we felt it is still important. It's not that we are there yet, unfortunately. Sometimes I was hoping after Black Lives Matter, yes, now we have the next phase, the next group of people that are marginalized in society, but somehow didn't work out. The politics of meaning is one of the discussions in and based on the book. And we will discuss that throughout the 3 days as well. Some of you will tip on it, others dive deeper into it. And very important, the cultural production of disability and the rise of capitalism over that decades from 1990 onwards. That is something that we will discuss the next days. That structured the disabled identities, but also that the problem, so to say, the disability problem is socially constructed. And in Mike Oliver and later on in the newer version, have also maybe the last slide for a bit.
That's
it. The previous one. Yeah, thank you. They speak about possibilities in new social movements. So I said tongue in cheek, Black Lives Matter, and what we can learn from that. But that is really what they are talking about in the book as well. One quote, disability as a static state violating its situational and experiential components is something that is discussed. Class politics and institutionalization. We can think that we don't do that anymore, but I think that we all know that the medical model hegemony is quite prevalent nowadays still in many globally, I would say, but specifically in our own European states. And so, what Michael Oliver and Colin Barnes, sorry about that, also make very clear is that disability can be perceived as an outcome of a capitalist society with traces of new materialism and also postmodernism. Some of you will touch upon that, so we will all have that in the coming days. And of course, I already pointed something out about disability rights activism and globalization. And then the last slide, Jane. Thank you. So the first day, you all have put forward something to discuss, or most of you, I must say, not all of you, but most of you have put something forward to discuss or to present and discuss afterwards. And we decided to have it a little bit structured, but we know that it all impact each other. So don't be afraid that that you have the feeling that you are misplaced. It's never misplaced. It's just that we have some structure of these 3 days. And then the first day is mostly about capacity and representation, the impact of disability representations in popular culture, media, literature, etc., and their political impact, of course. The second day, and also that goes on in the second day. And the second day will then, so tomorrow, on disability and social justice, different forms of discrimination, marginalization, and epistemic injustice. And then the third day will also, yeah, have some presentations and discussions on disability and social justice, but also on the body and sexuality. And each of us have their, you could say, preferences or expertise or whatsoever. So Andries will convene the first day, I will do the second, and Sander will do the third day, more or less. But I think we all are adults, so we all are in charge, I would say. And maybe Chardo as well. He smells that I have a dog at home as well. Yeah, is that clear for everyone? Is that okay? So you have all got the program. We don't have handouts to save papers, but if you need one, you can. We can print one.
So just one quick note.
Okay, yeah.
One presentation that unfortunately have to cancel, Moshe Goos, who's living with Ghosts. So what we propose is we're going to start with Melissa 1 and then Luke Pixley, then Annika Ebert. If you can go after the break, because otherwise we have 3 presentations and 1 presentation. That was short.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. So another we will do in between. So we are quite informal, you know, and these days my proposal. If you want it very strict, then we will have a problem, I think. But what I would like to say is beforehand, that's important. So we will give you some logistic updates throughout the days if necessary, etc. But what we want to do now, thank you for that, Andries, that was on my list as well. But also that questions, if you want to ask them, discussion questions, please at the Q&A session. And that has to do that some of us are joining us online via Zoom, and the technical specifics, yeah, is quite hard to organize at some time. So it's good if we do that at the end. So save them up for the end of each session where we have a Q&A. So write them down, don't forget it, or rehearse them in your head or something. So that's the first thing, and the second thing is if anyone is not okay with taking photos of themselves, because some of us want to make some photos just casual, and we will send them around afterwards to each of us. But if you don't want to be in those pictures, please let us know, then we will take care of that as well. Okay? So that's it for now. Then we can start just in time.